Hey guys, welcome to Cosplay Life. I'm Air Bear and today I'm going to give you a tour of my cosplay room. Let's go! So the reason why I decided to make this video is because when I was trying to organize this room, I looked online for like organization for cosplay rooms, but all I could find were things for sewing rooms or things for craft rooms. But cosplay is kind of like a mixture of both. So I would need something that could store my sewing things, something that could organize my like foam smithing stuff, and also a place to store all the things that I made. So hopefully this video will show you what I did, and it can kind of give you some ideas if you're having a hard time organizing your space. Yeah, so this room is kind of divided into different sections. All the things in this dresser are mostly for foam smithing. All the things in the, I call it the white grid area, but it's for accessorizing and embellishing costumes. All the things on this half of the room are for sewing and mostly things that have to do with sewing. And then over here in the closet is all storage. So now we're gonna go more in depth into each area. So the first one is this dresser. I got this dresser from a guy who was moving up north, and so he didn't want to have to move all the things with him, and so he left this stuff in his apartment, and as long as we can move it out ourselves, we got to keep it. So I got this dresser for free. When I was organizing my room, I tried to make it so I didn't spend any extra money. So I used things that we already had. So we had this sitting in storage, and a lot of the things that were already in this room, I just need to repurpose them. And I only ended up spending $15, but that was on the boards that I used to put the fabric on. I would suggest going to Goodwill or going to your parents, because a lot of times your parents and your grandparents and family relatives, they have old furniture that they don't want. Go to them and see if you can get any of their old dressers, because I never would even thought of using a dresser as storage until I realized that it's like the exact height that I needed to store my things. So using a dresser as shelves. So the top of the dresser has all of my metallic paints. It also has my paint brushes, and I use like my pieces of costumes as decorations throughout the room and also throughout the house, because a lot of times they're very difficult to store. Like if I were to try to stick Tamatoa's crown into a bag, it will probably break. So it has to stay out. So things that are too big and bulky to put into the closet and store it in there, I leave out as decorations because I spend a lot of time on it and it usually looks pretty cool. This first drawer isn't actually for foam smithing. The first drawer holds furs, it holds stuffing and kind of fluffy things, and this was just kind of the biggest space that I could find to put it. And I can't even open it all the way. So that's what's in there. So this drawer contains all of my paints. All of my FX paints are over here. All of my acrylic paints are right in the middle. And then these are all the paints that are not acrylic paints. The next drawer has all the glues and cutting materials. So that is where I keep them. I keep them in the metal tin. And I keep the roller, like the applicators for applying glue, inside the same drawer as the glue. All right, the next drawer is all protection equipment. So this is for when we're spray painting or when we are sanding foam. So we have drop cloths, aprons to protect our clothes, dust and particle masks. Can't think of what these are called.
Respirators?
Respirators. We have respirators. I highly suggest getting a respirator, especially if they're available now. Make sure that if you are spray painting that you use a respirator, not just the other masks, because it's bad for your lungs, chemicals, all of that. So make sure you get a respirator if you are doing any spray painting at all. Like even if you're doing it outside, still get a respirator. And then this bottom drawer is kind of like heavy duty sort of thing. So we have our drill in here, our heat gun, sander, sanding sheets, And also the Dremel and all of this accessories are in this drawer. And that is a phone smithing dresser. So the next section is like the embellishments, accessories section. Up top is kind of a new addition that I just added. I used the extra grids from these in order to, like, I had extra grids. So I put that on the wall, and then that is just kind of holding like different things related to the costumes. So we're gonna see how that works. That may need to change later on. Yeah, I'll talk about like what's inside each of the things. But first, let me tell you where I got this from. The white grids all came from Target. The black ones came from Bed Bath & Beyond. So Target, I think they stopped selling the white ones, and they may have stopped selling it altogether. You may need to check to see if they're still selling it. But Bed Bath & Beyond was selling it at the time, so I don't know if they're currently selling it, but that is where I got it from. Top shelf. So the top shelf holds baskets that are works in progress, except this one. This one is for making cards, and I don't actually want it here. I want a different storage thing for it, but I haven't gotten it yet. So once I get that, then I'll have another basket, and then that way I can have 5 baskets. So this first section over here is all craft foam. The top half is 2mm thick craft foam. The bottom half is 5mm thick craft foam. This is what I use to make the thicker pieces of armor. So scraps of craft foam that are at least big enough to make a headband are kept inside the bags for each section. Beneath that, down here, are found objects. Like, it's an ornament that is about the size, you can see yourself in it. It's an ornament that's about the size of like a boob or a yo-yo for ladybug. So I used that to heat form one, but it's probably not the best object, but we'll see how long it lasts. It was free, so there's that. Also, we have foil when we dropped it on the floor, and it was like, oh snap, what do we do with it now? We use it in the cosplay room. Same thing with the paper towels. We dropped them on the floor, so now they are donated to the cause.
We drop a lot of things on the floor, apparently.
I was trying to remember, did we drop the wax paper on the floor too? Is that how it was like sent to this room? But yeah, so all of that is found objects. Below that is costume pieces that are not for a specific cosplay. So I have masks in here, so just non-specific costume pieces. It's kind of like a dress-up box if you want to have a dress-up day. So this next section is all hair things. So I have my 2 head mannequins up front. These are my wigs. And then these are hairsprays and mustaches. The section below it is very similar to found objects, but it's kind of like craft materials, and it's kind of just like a craft box. So anything that I have left over from cosplay, so like this was a poison ivy that I made for someone else, I put those extra materials in this box and see if I can use it for like a different cosplay. Down here are scrapbook paper, construction paper, and EVA foam. I use zip ties to separate the sections. See, zip ties. This section here is all like beads, rhinestones, jewelry, things like that. So anytime that I have broken jewelry, I'll put it in this section, and I'll see if I can use it for a cosplay later on. Like Tamatoa, a lot of Tamatoa came out of this section. Under here is all like coloring supplies that are just for making art, not for making cosplays. Down here are all my sketch pads. I also keep the magazine boards that I use in order to wrap the fabric on. I also keep wood in here. I heat form on the wood sometimes so I don't mess up the carpet. Look, it's revving. All right, so this top one is shells. This is like wood, popsicle sticks, and different things made out of wood. And then these are all ribbons. This is all fabric paint. So my fabric dyes and my color shots are all in this basket. Down here is all yarn. If you are cosplaying, I highly recommend getting black and white yarn and also getting some of this twine because you can use this for like all kinds of embellishments and things like that. The next section is belts and straps. This is accessories. Now these are accessories that belong to multiple cosplays. So mask, hats, gloves, capes. If they have a specific costume that they belong to, but there's multiple costumes that use it, it goes in this one. And then these are weapons that aren't for a specific cosplay. It's just like weapons that I can practice with. And that is the white grid thing. Alright, so the next part is this blue bench, which doesn't actually belong in this room. It was a bench that we got from someone at school and we just painted it blue and we can't really get back into the building to drop it off. So I'm keeping it in here because I also want like a thinking place in this room. There's a lot of like stopping and thinking about costumes in the middle of cosplay. So I'm trying this out to see if this is a good spot and a good size for a thinking sort of a corner. Underneath we have the toolbox that has nails. We also have fabric scraps. These are scraps that are too small to go on a bolt. Fabric scraps. And these are all tapes and gloves. So all of our duct tapes are in there. The bench! So this half of the room is generally sewing stuff. So I picked this bookshelf up at a garage sale for $10. There's a sticker on it. Behind the bookshelf is something that has nothing to do with sewing, but this was the only place I could store it. It's my foam. I just rolled it up and I stuffed it all back there. On top of the bookshelf, I have like all of my little decorations. These are all like pins and things to hold fabric together. These are little clips that I use. You can use them on things that you can't stick needles through. So things that like if you use a needle, it would leave a hole in it, or it's just too thick. Like sometimes when I'm using furs, it's too thick to stick a needle through. So I would need to use the clips. This is a toolbox from our wedding. And it's just holding my turners, my markers for marking fabrics, and all of my cutting utensils, and my measuring tape. First shelf has my patterns. I've put them into these binders and into these sleeves to store them, and I separated each of these binders by the type of pattern that's in them. So these are all leotards, these are all I think shirts or something, bottoms and dresses. This is all of my trim. These are all my closures, so grommets and zippers. These are all my threads, bobbins, and things like that. My Velcro and my elastic are kept in these two containers. And then these were just gifts, like the container, there was just a gift in there. The bottom, these are my irons and steamer, and this is vinyl for making shirts, and also I use the vinyl to add the spots onto Ladybug. And these are all just spools of ribbon. This has nothing to do with sewing, but this is the only spot I had to store it. This is for making, like for gifts and birthdays and parties. So it's kind of like a party basket. So this is my sewing machine and sewing table. I got this sewing table from Goodwill, and like this part opens up and the sewing machine fits in. You'll see these a lot at Goodwill. The only thing is that most of them are the wrong height. And so that's what I was discovering with this one, is that like when I was sewing things for a long time, my back would start hurting, and it's because the sewing table is too tall. So we're gonna take the sewing table and either like make a new one or change up this one so that it's the right height and it's a better sewing table. So if we can successfully do that project, you will see that soon. This basket is projects that are on the back burner. That's what I should call it. It's back burner projects, except for this. This is structure foam that I just haven't used yet and I want to try it. Mirror came from Walmart. I spray painted the edge of it gold. Actually, no. I think Lovebug spray painted the edge of it gold. I didn't do anything. I just...
I did do that.
And just like using the big pieces that are too big to store, just as decoration. So this is like the game changer in this room. These are all my fabrics. I put them on those magazine bolts that I showed you before. It makes it look so much neater and it's so much easier to take out fabric now, and I can store so many more pieces of fabric. So I separated them by color, and then down here are all the fabrics. Like, they're not fabrics, they're things that go in between fabrics and things that are like used to structure fabrics. All right, this is tulle. This is not the best organization system, but right now this is about as good as I can get it. And over here is all of my felt. So these clipboards, Lovebug painted those gold for me as well. They hold different things for costumes. They're very similar to what I'm gonna use the grid thingies over there for, but this will be more like something I can take off and take with me to the store if like I need to look for fabric for Rafiki or Superman or whatever we're working on. So we can like actually take it off of the hook and take it to the store with us. All right, so this is my kind of fancy mannequin. Like that one kind of got trashed a little bit, but this one is the fancier one, and it was custom made for me. So I'll put a link in the description box of if I can find information for the person who made the mannequin for us. But yeah, that's my mannequin, and currently Jasmine is on it. I just love Jasmine so much. Mannequin. So in the middle of the room is my workspace. It is a giant table that we got from Joann's. The ends of it can fold down and it's on wheels, so you can kind of move it around if you want to. But this is where I do like all my fabric cutting and all of that. And I got this, I don't even know what this is called, but it's like a cutting board, cutting mat. It came from Joann's as well. And I typically leave it up here because I'm usually measuring fabric. Underneath it, I have this cutting mat, and I use that for foam smithing. The table. This shoe organizer I got from Target. Originally I was using it to hold the spray paint cans, but we had too many spray paint cans. So now it's actually being used to hold shoes. So these are all the shoes for costumes. All right, on the back of the door, hula hoops. But this is the pegboard and tools from the toolbox that we use frequently. Yeah, what?
Just the toolbox. The only thing you said in there was nails.
That is the only thing that's in there.
I think there's a hammer in there too.
Okay. All right, and the last part of this room is the closet where I store the costumes. So come along with me. Here is where Lovebug stores his shoes. This is where Lovebug stores all of his costumes. And over here is where I store my costumes. I organize my costumes the same way I organize my clothes in color order. And I do it based on the color that comes to mind when I think of the costume. So like this is Wonder Woman, and even though she has this big blue skirt, I usually think of red with Wonder Woman. When I am storing my costumes, I put the costume on the hanger, and all the accessories that belong to that costume, and only that costume, go into a bag that is attached to the hanger. So Harlequin has this bag, and it has some hair, some ribbons, spray paint for my hair, all in Harlequin's bag. Up here, I have the costumes that are too big or the bulky parts of costumes, and they're all supposed to be labeled, but For some reason, these two are not. But I believe this is Poison Ivy's armor. So the rest of Poison Ivy is on a hanger right here. But Poison Ivy's armor is in this box. Right here is Max. From where the wild things are. It's a big fur suit, and so it was just too big to put on a hanger, so Max is in the box. Here's She-Ra. Well, She-Ra's armor, so like the rest of She-Ra is on a hanger, and Tamatoa's armor is in a box. All right, and then that's the closet. And that is the end of the tour. Thank you so much for coming along with me. If you have any questions about anything that you saw, if you want more details about anything that you saw, make sure you leave that in the comment section below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you like this channel, make sure you hit subscribe. Other than that, have a wonderful day. Deuces!